Winter kept the soul from explaining itself. No defense, no story, no proof. I woke into being unjustified. Winter doesn't ask existence to be tried. I stayed with presence under good. Winter doesn't put the soul on guard. I noticed how calm came from no explanation. Winter doesn't require reason for sensation. I breathed and felt enough as is. Winter doesn't quiz the heart for quiz. I remembered explaining too much before. Winter said being is more. I stayed with truth unspoken. Winter doesn't accuse silence of broken. I noticed how dignity lived in stillness. Winter doesn't force identity to witness. I walk through hours, still mine. Winter doesn't subpoena the soul for line. I remembered fearing if I didn't explain, I would be misunderstood. Winter said being is understood. I stayed with essence, untranslated. Winter doesn't need meaning to be stated. I noticed how peace came from not proving. Winter doesn't rush the soul for moving. I breathe through doubt, still whole. Winter doesn't fracture being for a role. I stayed with night, unaccounted. Winter doesn't audit the heart for counted. I remembered selves that vanished from talk. Winter said silence can walk. I stayed until sleep, still me. Winter kept the soul from explaining itself, and I was free. I lay down knowing nothing was owed. Winter kept the soul from explaining itself, and it flowed. Winter kept the world at breathing distance, not far, not near. I woke into space that allowed air. Winter doesn't crowd existence, it clears it. I stayed with the room, not pressing. Winter doesn't compress life for closeness. I noticed how people stayed out lines. Winter doesn't force intimacy on sight. I walk through streets still open. Winter doesn't trap the body in motion. I remember seasons too tight. Winter said space is not neglect. I breathe fully unrestricted. Winter doesn't ration air, it trusts it. I stayed with the world, not entering. Winter doesn't demand participation to belong. I noticed how calm came from room. Winter doesn't squeeze peace from blue. I walk past windows still glowing. Winter doesn't pull me inside for knowing. I remember fearing distance meant cold. Winter said space can still hold. I stayed with connection, unforced. Winter doesn't bind relation by chords. By chords. I notice how care moves gently. Winter doesn't collide hearts to prove them. I breathe again, still free. Winter doesn't crowd the chest to be. I walk through afternoon, still wide. Winter doesn't narrow life to size. I remember closeness that suffocated. Winter said space is also devotion. I stayed with the world still near. Winter doesn't confuse distance with fear. I notice how night held stars apart. Winter doesn't cluster light for heart. I stayed until sleep still calm. Winter kept the world at breathing distance, and I could stand. I lay down knowing nothing was withdrawn. Winter kept the world at breathing distance, and I belong. Winter kept the world from demanding me. No call, no pull, no claim. I woke into space, unrequested. Winter doesn't assign words by being needed. I stayed with existence, unemployed. Winter doesn't invoice the soul for being whole. I noticed how calm came from no summons. Winter doesn't confuse value with summons. I breathed and felt no requirement. Winter doesn't turn life into assignment. I remember days that asked too much. Winter said enough. His touch. I'll stay with hours unclaimed. Winter doesn't register the self by name. I noticed how freedom came from not answering. Winter doesn't penalize silence for wandering. I walk through moments still mine. Winter doesn't lease the body to time. I remembered fearing if I wasn't cold, I would not exist. Winter said presence is all. I stayed with identity, unrequested. Winter doesn't interrogate me, for tested. I noticed how peace came from no task. Winter doesn't turn living into ask. I breathe through daylight, still free. Winter doesn't deputize the world to need me. I stayed with night, doesn't repossess the soul or name. I remember the worth that came from demand when I said being is stand. I stayed until sleep still whole when I kept the world from demanding me, and it stole. I lay down knowing nothing had called when I kept the world from demanding me, and I stood tall. When I kept the world in slow motion, not frozen, just eased, I woke into streets that lingered when a dozen pause life. It figures I stayed with movement, unforced, when a dozen whip direction by course. I noticed how people pass gently when a dozen collide stories to meet. I walk through hours still spaced when a dozen stack moments in haste. I remember days that ran winter said motion can stand. I stayed with progress unseen when a dozen advertised growth to me. I noticed how time expanded when it doesn't shrink living for landing. I breathe with the pace still wide when it doesn't race the body aside. I stayed with moments that stretched when it doesn't tighten presence by threat. Oh, I remembered fearing if I slowed I would fall behind. Winter said slow is the line. I stayed with becoming still open when it doesn't rush arrival for hoping. I noticed how calm held weight when it doesn't equate speed with faith. I walked into dusk still moving when it doesn't halt the world for proving. I stayed with night still long when it doesn't shorten darkness to song. I noticed how stars drifted when it doesn't cluster meaning to gift it. I stayed until sleep still whole when I kept the world in slow motion and it rolled. I lay down knowing nothing had stalled when I kept the world in slow motion, and I was called. night was cold. Winter left space between words. It didn't rush speech to arrive. I woke into silence, still warm. Winter doesn't freeze language, it slows it. I stayed with sentences unfinished. Winter doesn't force meaning to finish. I noticed how quiet didn't break. Winter doesn't crack silence for steak. I spoke less, but meant more. Winter doesn't multiply words, to be sure. I remembered filling gaps with noise. Winter said pauses, also voice. I stayed with listening fully. Winter doesn't compete sound with story. I noticed how breath held phrases. Winter doesn't cut the line, it spaces it. I walk through hours, barely speaking. Winter doesn't mute the soul, it deepens. I remembered arguments too fast. Winter said slow words last. I stayed with thoughts still inside. Winter doesn't pull language outside. I noticed how calm lived in delay. Winter doesn't hurry truth to say. I spoke when needed, then stopped. Winter doesn't reward talking a lot. I stayed through afternoon, mostly quiet. Winter doesn't interpret silence as riot. I remember fearing being unheard. Winter said presence precedes word. I stayed until night, still sparse. Winter doesn't crowd expression with art. I lay down knowing nothing was lost. Winter left space between words and they cross. Winter left the heart unrushed. It didn't ask what was next. I woke with feelings still unfinished. Winter doesn't complete emotion, it hopes it. I stayed with longing unanswered. Winter doesn't close doors, it lets them rest. I noticed how memories rose slowly. Winter doesn't flood the past, it releases it. I breathe through hours without aim. Winter doesn't demand direction to remain. I remembered forcing closure in other years. Winter said open ends are not fears. I stayed with love that wasn't warm. Winter doesn't deny affection, it reforms. I noticed how care could be quiet. Winter doesn't shout devotion, it stays near. I walk through the day still tender. Winter doesn't harden the heart, it tempers. I remembered thinking waiting meant weak. Winter said patience is death. I stayed with silence that listened. Winter doesn't answer questions, it adverbies. I noticed how calm didn't solve. Winter doesn't resolve the soul it holds. I walked into afternoon, still slow. Winter doesn't push feeling to grow. I remembered warmth that would return. Winter said seasons take turns. I stayed with myself unresolved. Winter doesn't force healing, it allows. I noticed how night held space. Winter doesn't hurry rest into place. I lay down knowing nothing expired. Winter left the heart unrushed, and it survived. Winter let me move without a rival. It didn't promise an end. I woke into motion that wasn't directed. Winter doesn't assign purpose to steps. I stayed walking, not searching. Winter doesn't confuse movement with urgency. I noticed how distance opened slowly. Winter doesn't compress the road for glory. I walked past places I didn't enter. Winter doesn't demand access to matter. I remember thinking every step should lead. Winter said leading is not the only way. I stayed with the rhythm of walking. Winter doesn't sync the body to clocks. I noticed how cold kept pace. Winter doesn't race the ground, it matches it. I breathed and kept moving, still unsure. Winter doesn't require destination to endure. Rushing in other seasons. Winter said staying in motion is a reason. I walk through hours, still open. Winter doesn't close paths to prove them. I notice how calm stayed intact. Winter doesn't tax wandering as lack. I stay with the feeling of going. Winter Winter doesn't ask the future for knowing. I walked into afternoon, still moving. Winter doesn't reward progress with approval. I remembered fearing being lost. Winter said not arriving is not cost. I stayed walking until light changed. Winter doesn't mark transitions as strange. I walked into evening, still here. Winter let me move without arrival, and I was clear. Winter let me stay where I was, not move forward, not return. I woke into stillness that didn't pull. Winter doesn't drag the soul, it allows. I stayed with the moment, unextended. Winter doesn't stretch time for meaning. I noticed how standing still didn't hurt. Winter doesn't punish pause with dirt. I breathed and felt the ground remain. Winter doesn't shift footing for gain. I remembered running other years. Winter said staying is not fear. I stayed with my place, unclaimed. Winter doesn't require position to be named. I noticed how comfort came from not leaving. Winter doesn't confuse motion with believing. I walk through hours, still here. Winter doesn't push the bite to appear. I remembered fearing if I stayed, I would be forgotten. Winter said stay and you stayed. I notice how calm settled in. Winter doesn't need arrival to begin. I breathe through time, still placed. Winter doesn't relocate the heart for pace. I stayed with awareness, unmoved. Winter doesn't accuse stillness of rule. I remembered moments I forced change. Winter said rest is also range. I stayed until night, still true. Winter let me stay where I was, and I knew. I lay down knowing nothing had shifted. Winter let me stay. Winter let me stay where I was, and it lifted. And it lifted. When I held the light without promise, no vow, just glow. I woke into brightness, unclaimed. Winter doesn't guarantee warmth, it remains. I stayed with illumination, with a nation that didn't speak. Winter doesn't announce hope to keep. I notice how light rested. Winter doesn't dress belief for testing. I walk through pale streets, still lit. Winter doesn't dramatize gold to fit. I remember faith that needed proof. Winter said light does not argue truth. I stayed with clarity, still unsure. Winter doesn't polish meaning for cure. I noticed how seeing was enough. Winter doesn't harden vision too tough. I breathed and felt the glow stay. Winter doesn't spin light to say. I stayed with shadows, still kind. Winter doesn't pit dark against mine. I remembered waiting for a sign. Winter said presence is fine. I stayed with evening, half bright. Winter doesn't force night to fight. I noticed how stars kept apart. Winter doesn't cluster guidance for heart. I walk through hours, still see. Winter doesn't blind the world to clean. I stayed with quiet, illumined. Winter doesn't owe the light a reason. I remember dawn that demanded more. Winter said light is not a door. I stayed until sleep, still no. Winter held the light without promise, and I was home. I lay down knowing nothing was swallowed. Winter held the light without promise, and it shone. Winter held the morning back, not away, just gently. I woke before light fully came. Winter doesn't release day suddenly. I stayed with gray, still forming. Winter doesn't rush brightness into morning. I notice how dawn waited. Winter doesn't push beginnings to hurry. I breathed in the half-light, still calm. Winter doesn't demand clarity at dawn. I remembered mornings that shouted start. Winter said started can be soft. I stayed with the sky, still undecided. Winter doesn't finalize color to guide it. I noticed how quiet stayed long. Winter doesn't interrupt stillness with song. I walk slowly, not late. Winter doesn't frame slowness as fate. I stayed with the moment before doesn't hand the day too ready. I stayed with myself, still intact. Winter doesn't fracture being in two acts.
I lay down later,
knowing this,
winter held the morning back,
and I did not miss.
I lay down later,
Knowing this,
winter held the morning back. I lay down later, winter held the morning back,
and I did not miss.
I lay down later, winter held the morning back.
Winter held time in its hands, not squeezing, just steady. I woke into minutes that didn't slide. Winter doesn't let hours escape. I stayed with the clock, tick by tick. Winter doesn't blur passing, it marks it. I noticed how waiting didn't stretch.
Winter doesn't torture patience, it rests it.
I breathed through seconds fully felt. Winter doesn't thin moments for well. I remember racing against days. Winter said time
It's not prayer.
I stayed with a moment.
Unspent
Winter doesn't discount present.
by rent.
I notice how memory moves slow. Winter doesn't rush recall to glow. I walk through hours still intact. Winter doesn't fracture now into past. I remembered fearing time would leave me. Winter said time is not fleeing. I stayed with silence between sounds. Winter doesn't fill gaps with rounds. I noticed how calm settle deep.
Winter doesn't skim experience,
It keeps
I breathe again.
feeling weight.
Winter doesn't lighten life,
It steadies fate,
I stay with the body.
still aging.
Winter doesn't hide change,
It's aging,
I notice how night.
didn't hurry.
Winter doesn't push darkness to worry.
I lay down knowing nothing was lost. Winter held time in its hands, and it was enough. And it was enough. Winter kept my name uncalled. It didn't ask me to answer. I woke without identity pressing. Winter doesn't summon the self for addressing. I stayed as presence without label. Winter doesn't make being audible. I noticed how quiet didn't erase me. Winter doesn't need naming to place me. I walk through the day
On
doesn't require seduction to count. I remember being called by Rose. Winter said the body is not a title. I stayed with myself unnamed. Winter doesn't separate value from name. I noticed how calm felt neutral. Winter doesn't tilt existence toward approval. I breathe without explaining who I was. Winter doesn't audit the soul for cause. I remember fearing if no one called I would fade. Winter said presence does not depend. I stayed through hours, still me. Winter doesn't identify life to be. I noticed how peace didn't require recognition. Winter doesn't hire witnesses for respiration. I walked into afternoon, still silent. Winter doesn't make identity violent. I stayed with being unclaimed. Winter doesn't auction the self by name. I notice how night arrived gently. Winter doesn't announce endings urgently. I lay down knowing nothing was taken. Winter kept my name uncalled, and I awakened. Winter kept the body close to earth, not lifted, not fallen. Awoken to weight that felt honest. Winter doesn't fight gravity, it promises. I stayed with my feet still grounded. Winter doesn't elevate being to crown. I noticed how calm lived in heaviness. Winter doesn't confuse grounding with mess. I breathed and felt the floor answer. Winter doesn't separate body from matter. I remembered floating too far before. Winter said, standing is more. I stayed with posture, unforced. Winter doesn't sculpt the body for course. I noticed how rose from ground. Winter doesn't import comfort from sound. I walked through hours, still waited. Winter doesn't accuse slowness of outdated. said presence is size. I stayed with movement, minimal. Winter doesn't dramatize living to miracle. I noticed how peace came from contact. Winter doesn't detach the self from fact. I breathe through stillness, still whole. Winter doesn't trade grounding for soul. I stayed with night, still anchored. Winter doesn't loosen the body to wander. I remembered bodies that broke from flight. Winter said, staying is might. I stayed until sleep, still here. Winter kept the body close to earth, and it was clear. Nothing needed lift. Winter kept the body close to earth, and I existed. Winter kept the cold, honest, not cruel, just clear. I woke in the chill that didn't bite. Winter doesn't sharpen cold to fight. I stayed with the air unpadded. Winter doesn't disguise weather as padded. I noticed how truth lived in cold. Winter doesn't wrap reality in gold. I breathed and felt the sting fade. Winter doesn't exaggerate pain for shade. Winter said honesty is more. I stayed with sensation, still real. Winter doesn't numb the body heal. I noticed how clarity came through chill. Winter doesn't blur feeling by will. I walk through streets still bare. Winter doesn't decorate truth with care. I remembered warmth that lied. Winter said cold doesn't hide. I stayed with exposure, still safe. Winter doesn't confuse openness with brave. I noticed how sharpness didn't stay. Winter doesn't keep edges to play. Breathe again, still clear. Winter doesn't turn cold into fear. I stayed with the weather unaltered. Winter doesn't sweeten experience for barter. I remember seasons that pretended. Winter said truth is extended. I stayed until night, still clear. Winter kept the cold honest, and it meant I lay down knowing nothing to see. Winter kept the cold honest, and I believe.
Winter kept the heart unrushed, not slow, just free. I woke into feeling without demand. Winter doesn't schedule emotion by hand. I stayed with affection still forming. Winter doesn't push love to morning. I noticed how care took time. Winter doesn't force devotion to climb. I breathed and felt the pulse remain. Winter doesn't hurry beating for gain. I remember the love ahead of pace. Winter said staying is great. I stayed with warmth, still waiting. Winter doesn't accuse patience of fading. I noticed how closeness did not peak. Winter doesn't need climax to speak. I walk through hours still kind. Winter doesn't race the heart to bind. I remembered fearing if I delayed, I would miss love. Winter said love had stayed. I stayed with openness, unproved. Winter doesn't demand evidence to move. I noticed how calm held fire. Winter doesn't stoke desire higher. I breathe through longing, still soft. Winter doesn't sharpen want to cost. I stayed with emotion unfinished. Winter doesn't require endings to witness. I remembered hearts that broke from speed. Winter said gentleness is need. I stayed until night still warm. Winter kept the heart unrushed and it formed. I lay down knowing nothing ran away. Winter kept the heart unrushed and it stayed. Winter kept the light low on purpose, not to hide, but to soften. I woke into a dim morning when nothing rushed to be seen. Winter doesn't dim the world to take, it dims it so it can stay. I stayed with shadows that didn't threaten. Winter doesn't turn darkness into danger. I noticed how my eyes adjusted slowly.
Winter doesn't blind the heart with sudden. I walk through rooms where light rested. Winter doesn't pour brightness, it places it. I remembered fearing if things weren't clear,
I would be lost.
Winter said clarity can wait. I stayed with half-lit thoughts still forming. Winter doesn't demand answers. In the morning I watch dust move in a thin beam. Winter doesn't decorate air, it reveals it. I breathe seeing vaporize. Winter doesn't hide effort, it honors it. I remembered summers that insisted on shine. Winter said seeing everything is not always kind. I stayed with the land, left on low. Winter doesn't turn things off, it lowers them. I noticed how calm lived in dimness. Winter doesn't confuse softness with weakness. I walk through afternoons still pale. Winter doesn't chase color, it lets it settle. I stayed with myself, not fully visible. Winter doesn't require exposure to be livable. I noticed how feelings didn't glare. Winter doesn't spotlight emotion, it holds it there. I remembered being told to speak up. Winter said quiet is also enough.
I stayed
Until evening
with lights unchanged.
Winter doesn't escalate mood for range. I watch night arrive naturally. Winter doesn't announce endings formally. I lay down knowing nothing was hidden from me. Winter kept the light low on purpose, and I could see. Winter kept the soul at human speed, not heroic, not slow, just true. I woke into movement that matched my way. Winter doesn't ask the soul to accelerate. I stayed with rhythm that fit my breath. Winter doesn't outpace the body with depth. I noticed how living felt possible. Winter doesn't inflate ambition to impossible. I breathed and felt my pulse agree. Winter doesn't argue with biology. I remembered striving beyond skin. Winter said arriving starts within. Winter doesn't whip desire to rush. I noticed how calm carried strength. Winter doesn't confuse endurance with length. I walk through hours still able. Winter doesn't force greatness to be stable. I remembered failing excess. Winter said enough is success. I capacity still honest, when it doesn't loan energy to promise. I notice how care moves slow, when it doesn't speed devotion for show. I breathe through time, still matched, when it doesn't misalign the soul from flesh. I stayed with becoming unraced, when it doesn't schedule arrival by pace. I remembered worlds that demanded more, when I said being human is core. I stayed until evening, still aligned, when I kept the soul at human speed, and I was fine. I lay down knowing nothing chased me, when I kept the soul at human speed, and it freed me. Oh.
When to let the body remember without instruction. It didn't correct posture or feeling. I woke into weight, still mine. Whoa, when it doesn't disconnect flesh from time. I stayed with shoulders a little tired, when it doesn't demand strength it permits. I noticed how hands held history, when it doesn't wipe the skin it listens. I walk through hours feeling joints, when it doesn't smooth motion and joints. I remember pushing past sensation, when I said listening is not stagnation. I stayed with the spine, finding balance, when it doesn't force alignment, it grants it. I noticed how breath met ribs, when it doesn't edit effort, it lives. I touch my chest, feeling pulse, when it doesn't rush the heart it holds. I remember seasons asking more, when I said being here is already core. I stayed with fatigue that wasn't failure, when it doesn't call rest surrender. I noticed how warmth lived inside, when it doesn't outsource heat, it abides. I walk through afternoon, still embodied, when it doesn't separate thought from body. I remembered fearing aging and change, when I said memory lives in shape. I stayed until evening, still whole, when I let the body remember and it told. I lay down knowing nothing was lost, when I let the body remember at its own